Happy Tip Tuesday, golfers. Jake and I are back in our 3D motion capture studio, and today we are teaching you, finally, what the proper downswing sequence is and a little bit what impact should look like. So Jake, we're going to expose one of my flaws here. I don't love my impact position. One of my key thoughts when I practice is what my downswing sequencing is, what my body's doing. Let's look at a PGA Tour Pro average, and let's look at my golf swing, and just compare the differences a little bit, please.
Yeah, so if we look at you at the top of your backswing, we can see things look very, very similar. You're tilted slightly behind the golf ball with your spine, which means you've turned around your spine and loaded a little bit behind the golf ball. Your heads are in those bubbles. They look more similar than different. What happens with the Tour Pro is as they start to move forward, their lower body does lead the downswing. So it is that bump move with the lower body, the hips, the knees that everyone knows should occur. And that brings them towards the target. What we'll also notice, though, is that their upper body is not falling back. So their chest, their abs, they're staying on top of their legs as the legs lead the downswing, which brings everything together into the downswing.
Yeah, I would say that's today's tip, Jake, that it does start from the lower body, and you want the legs to kind of guide you into position a little bit, but you cannot forget about any part of your body, or more specifically, you can't concentrate only on one part of your body. And we see a lot of struggles in the downswing, but let's show my particular struggle, and then maybe we'll help people practice a little bit.
Yeah, so in contrast, what we see is when you do the same move, it's very similar to start, but then you are more dynamic with your knees and your hips in relation to how much your chest is moving. So because your knees and your hips are a little more dynamic, your chest starts falling back in relation to your hips slightly, and now we have more spine tilt than we see with the Tour Pro. So they're just over 93.5 degrees at this position, you're just over 99 degrees at this position. So that's going to lead into impact with the pros being more on top of the ball, covering it more successfully.
Compressing it.
And it's going to wind up with you being a little farther back at impact with your spine tilt about 10 degrees more than theirs and your head starting to fall out of the circle a little bit.
Yeah, that's really important. So we want those legs to lead. I don't know, would we say guide, Jake? We want the legs to kind of guide and lead, and the lower body does start. But when I practice, and I want you to consider this, I think about my belly button, my midsection, and everything moving onto my lead leg. So if you overdo the lower body, the upper body can fall backwards. If you just hang back, the upper body falls back. You want to think about your legs leading from the bottom up. But we've got to keep the midsection and even up into the head moving into impact and then rotating to a finish.
Yeah, it's a great example of too much of a good thing can become a bad thing,
yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people struggle with their downswing in the opposite way, where their upper body unloads first and they're trying to get their legs to start your downswing, and that's awesome practice. But the message we want to give you today based on this idea is if you're trying to do that by only throwing your knees or your hips at the target as hard as you can to make sure you get off your back foot and start with from the ground up, you're probably adding a different problem from what you're trying to fix.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. It's lower body first, but upper body has to stay in touch. Head has to move a little bit as well, so you can release and hit stronger, better golf shots. Thanks for watching, golfers. Like this tip, subscribe, and check out all of our other tips.